Hi, folks. I greet you. Welcome to another date with the Journalist Hangout Train. It's a Sunday, the 20th of October 2024. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Now, today on the program, Ojo Zakalu reveals that he earns 14 million naira monthly as a senator, but says it's not enough. NSA, that's the National Security Advisor, accuses soldiers of selling arms to criminal groups, says many weapons used by bandits and terrorists belonged to government. And later on the show, we'll share this with you. World Bank tells Nigerians not to oppose reverse ongoing economic reforms, says some 129 million Nigerians live in poverty. But let me report I'm hanging out with Adewale Adeoye. I greet you, Wale. Yeah, I greet you. And he's joined by the gentleman, Dotun Oladipo. I greet you too.
Thank you so much for having me here, sir.
All right, so welcome to the marathon, and the group is ready. But just to report that team leader BKO is unavoidably out of town. So we are ready to hit the road. All right. You know, the National Education Loan Fund, otherwise NELFUND, is a pivotal financial institution established under the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act 2024. The boss of NELFUND, Akintunde Sawyer, insists that the fund is already counting its blessings. According to him, no less than 10 billion naira has been disbursed to some 400,000 students so far. As many as 370,000 students have registered on the NELFUND portal, with 280 of them applying for the loan. Sawyer said a number of students are still undecided about the process. It's a loan. People need to think about it, Sawyer added, stressing that a manual approach was discarded by the agency so as to curtail corruption. Wale, so that's the story.
Yeah.
NELFUND is here.
I think no matter how you look at it, the economy is in terribly bad shape. More people are having less access to education. Okay, when the purchasing power is low, and wages are ebbing, people are losing their jobs. It means that the opportunity of having access to education will diminish. So there should be some form of intervention, from the state government. And that is why we are just talking about free market economy and all that. Government at one point or the other needs to intervene to get things right. So I think what the government has done to this loan is a remarkable development.
Okay.
And it's actually not the first time. We had this in the First Republic in the 50s, in the 60s. They said that even a prominent lawyer, San, only recently, SAN, returned, paid back 2 million naira for a loan of 1,000 naira that he got in 1970. Yeah, 1975. 1975.
Okay, I remember the student loans fund at the time.
Yes, so he had made several attempts to pay back the loan, but he didn't have the opportunity. So he just paid back 2 million naira. And he said if not for that loan, there was no way he would have been able to complete his university education.
Okay.
So I think what the government has done is remarkable. What is now left for us is how we manage this opportunity. We are talking about 40,000 students that are beneficiaries now. If you look at the percentage of that compared with the number of people in higher institutions, that is just a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
So it means that we need to look for more creative means of assisting people that don't have means of education. Because education is the key that unlocks the future. It is the light that opens up darkness. Without education, you cannot be talking about development. Many people's potentials will die in them. And the country itself will become a cemetery of great dreams. Because people who are great people will not be able to achieve their potentials.
Yeah.
So one of the other things we need to do is that state governments, like 36 state governments, can also create a mini loan board to complement the effort of the government. But I think what we are seeing now is a very good development. And we are just starting. I believe at the fullest of time that it's going to be something that Nigerians will remember the current government for.
Yeah, Dotun, you know, the seeming pussyfooting of so many students across board is understandable.
Well, if we go by what we have seen so far in terms of people coming out to apply,
Okay.
yeah, can be right. Because sometimes, or a lot of times, it takes us Nigerians to see that this thing is actually working before we
key
into it. And it's understandable because in the past, we've had so many unfulfilled promises.
Okay.
And now this has come. And maybe the first thing I'll say is that we should commend the management of NELFUND for the way it has so far handled this. Because it was a good thing that, one, these loans did not go to parents to pay for the education, and also it did not go to the students in full. What the board has done is to separate fees from feeding and accommodation and boarding. So what belongs to the school goes to the school. And then what belongs to the students for feeding and accommodation, they get it. And this is quite commendable because a lot of things in the past we have muddled up.
The yearning of the citizenry is to look at government as big brother, big father, you know, cater to the needs of the children.
Yeah, let's use the Nigerian language, the big brother, because that's how they also know Nigeria outside.
Okay.
I mean, in Africa, we are the big brothers. And that is why when...
always watching.
Always watching. That's why when this thing started working, we can see that even the private universities have started saying, see, our students also need it. And quite frankly, I agree with them because a lot of people see private universities as being for the privileged.
Okay.
But two things in my own opinion or estimation have knocked that out. Number one is the fact that some people end up in private universities because of the queer system we operate in the public universities. I hope you read of recent
system of admission.
Yes, of admission. I'm sure you would have read of recent of a parent who said that his child was top of the list of medical students to be, and there were two others too. Numbers 1, 2, 3, and none of them made the admission list.
Wow.
He then called the Professor Isha Kole, who is in charge of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board.
Yeah.
And within 24 hours, that was corrected. And then we were told that the VC now called Professor Yelede to begin to say, sorry, that they didn't know what happened. How will you say your best 3 students, the best on your list, did not make the admission list?
What they call the cutoff and all that.
Not even the cutoff, the list
the
itself.
List, okay.
They made the cutoff, they did everything, but they removed their names and put in other people. And then number 2 is the fact that I've also observed that somebody who has patronized the public and the private, albeit unwillingly, I mean as per the private university, that when you sit down and you do your calculations by every kobo, for most courses, you don't find a difference you don't find a sharp difference between what is paid in the private and public universities. The private universities may come and say, I want $1 million, and they want it at once, or at the most they give you the opportunity to pay twice. But the public ones will say, pay 10 naira today, pay 10 naira tomorrow. Day after you pay. By the time you do the calculation, you will see that the difference will be about 50,000, 100,000 naira. So even those who are forced to go into private universities also need these things. And for me, it's something that is worth considering by NELFUND. To consider it.
Wale, again, at this point, you think NELFUND should sweet sell its activities? You know, it's like the ice cream boy. You know, announcing his arrival. So there should be that call. You know, NELFUND is here and it is real.
Yeah.
Come on board.
Yeah, I think I think there are about over 200 students, over 200,000 students have visited the site.
Okay.
Only a few have failed to make use of it. Just open the site without doing anything because there is still suspicion that is this thing real or not. But we are talking about 40,000 students now who are real beneficiaries. So I think it is time for us to move with from the realm of presumption to reality that this thing is real and that students should assess the fund, which runs into billions and is spread to over about 169 schools across the country.
Okay.
So I think I also agree with what my colleague has said.
Yeah.
Private universities came in order to deal with the problem of
the
shortfall, because there are very few. And when you go to these federal universities, you have VC's quota, ministers' quota, senate's quota. So before the poor man can enter through the hole, it's very, very difficult. So they have come in to fill a very huge vacuum, and they should not be isolated, from anything government is doing.
And more than anything else, the news must be spread that NELFUND means
has arrived. Yeah.
And
as a major intervention in the education sector. Though we still need to do a lot to deal with the rot in the education system, but this is a major step forward.
Okay. The debate, let the debate continue, but perhaps you want to know that NELFUND is here to stay and it is delivering on its promise. The head of the organization, Mr. Sawyer, says, come on board. What more could we say?
Yeah, I think if you also go some weeks back in the news, you would have heard the government saying to its appointees, talk more about what you are doing.
Yeah.
I think there are some very silent achievers in this administration who don't like to.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people would have read more about Professor Oloyede when he turned 70.
He made a top impression, I dare say,
So, but over the years, he has been silent. Nobody has said anything. Those are the kind of people we need.
Professor Oloyede shot into national reckoning when, if you recall that years ago, Wiley, whenever
ASU went on strike.
JAM declared 5-7 billion. We'll clap our hands. But Oloyede came and
even before it was not declaring anything. It was declaring losses. Snakes were eating the money. I'm sure you recall that. Snakes were eating the money. So, but he came and then was
changed the narrative.
Because really, what people look for in government are the loopholes. People go into government wanting to make money.
Yeah.
But they did a lot of things, and that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. We need people who are involved in some of these processes to speak up more. Like the NELFUND now, you don't hear so much from that body. Except, of course, you go to dig. But we want to hear the so much. So that people can be aware that this is in existence and they should.
And thankfully, the business of journalist hangout is to sweet sell these things. If you hear it here, then know it is gospel.
Working.
It is gospel. You must believe it. At this point, I wish NELFUND will continue to count its blessings, and that the blessings will permeate, will go across board. Nobody did, because you had a disturbing story at a time, a particular region felt
it was being left out.
Yeah, left out. And all right. Okay, let's go to